Good morning, everyone. We welcome you at the 16th edition of BCCI MSME Manufacturing Conclave and MSME Excellence Award. To start with, I will just, take you through the program design and concept. Uh, all of you know this is one of our most signature events of Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So this inaugural session is designed as a section of the distinguished panelists. They are from large industries, a section from manufacturing industries, and the other section is defense from Indian Defense Force. The way we have designed this program in such a way, because Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we have been doing with MSME Department, Government of West Bengal. We have taken a project with the department. The main focus of the project is to integrate MSMEs of our state in the defense value chain, and also how our MSMEs may work with the defense value chain, as they are one of the largest procurement agencies. So the first phase of the work, we have completed the first phase of the work. We have identified 150 MSMEs, and we have done a directory, that's a live directory or online directory. In that online, you can say ready reckoner, each and every company MSME details what they produce, what kind of products they produce. Even the description of the products are given there, so that major procurer can easily go and interact with them, even can call them and interact with them. Those who are present, many of you are working with us, and we are very happy today to share with you that we many of our MSMEs, they have started getting the benefit of the initiative, and this will continue for next 1 year. So the inaugural session is slightly big, but after this, we have given a large amount of time of this today's program for VDP, Vendor Development Program, and B2B, where again the large procurement, large manufacturers are there. Manufacturers from Indian Railways, people from Indian Railways, procurement team of GRSC, and many other industries. Those who are bulk procurer are there in the other hall. And at the same time, as you know, that one of the major hurdles that MSMEs face, not only here, across India, that is the access to credit. And we have written several times to government agencies, state bodies, and ministries about that pain point. And today, Reserve Bank, or delegation from Reserve Bank of India, 5-member delegation of Reserve Bank of India, they are here. They will be interacting with a chosen group of MSMEs to understand the hurdles and how those hurdles may be mitigated. So this is how this program is designed, and at the end of the day, we have this MSME Excellence Award. So now I request, or I believe all of you have the program schedule. So we have our Senior Vice President, Mr. Navneet Narayan, and who is also the CEO and whole-time director of Holdia Petrochemicals Limited, another big company of our state. So I will request sir to kindly come to the dais, please. Now request Mr. Orno Basu. Mr. Basu is our immediate former president and he is the leader of Client and Industries, PwC India. I request Mr. Basu to kindly come to the dais. Mr. Indrajit Sen, all of our MSME stakeholders, you know Mr. Sen, he has been with us, has been, actually working with us, motivating us. So Mr. Sen is here. Mr. Sen is also our former president and Mr. Sen is the managing director of International Combustion Limited. I request Mr. Anirban Banerjee, Managing Director, Eveready Industries India Limited. Mr. Banerjee, kindly come to the dais. Now, as we were discussing, we have three manufacturing MSMEs who will be here and sharing their views with us because they are again working with us in major value chains. I'll request Mr. Pritam Nondi. Mr. Nondi is from Elite Polymer and Elite Polymer is one of the major suppliers of GRSE. I request Mr. Chandroma Shaha, who is Director Shaha Steel, and Mr. Shaha is Miss Saha. Sorry, Miss Saha. Please come to the dais, please. And she works very closely with major steel industries, and they are a big supplier of major steel companies. I request Mr. Joyanto De. Mr. De is the proprietor of Precision Transmission Chain, and you will be happy to know that his company, Precision Transmission Chain, has been awarded the best quality precision vendor by HAL. Now I request Commodore E. Bhattacharya. Commodore Bhattacharya, kindly come to the dais. He is the officer in charge, Quality Assurance Establishment, Naval Force, based in Kolkata. And I request another big procurement, manufacturer. I will request Colonel Jaswant Singh Bohra. Colonel Bohra is the commandant of Engineering Store Depot at Kakinada. Commander Bohra, please come to the dais. Now I request we'll start with Mr. Navneet Narayan, and Mr. Narayan will set the context of the conclave. Mr. Narayan, please.
Good morning, my fellow dignitaries on the stage, friends and ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this 16th manufacturing conclave that BCCI has been organizing. I think it's a topic that is very, very dear to us, and especially with the way things are happening within the country and outside that we are seeing in the Middle East. I think it's the right time really for us to focus on manufacturing as the core sector. Really, it gives me a great pleasure to address something that lies at the heart of India's economic future, the importance of manufacturing. Manufacturing is not merely an economic activity. It is the engine that drives employment, innovation, exports, and national capability. Every developed nation in the world has built its own prosperity on the strength of a vibrant manufacturing sector. You can go back in history and go across the globe, and you see that's how countries became stronger and stronger. For India, the stakes are very high. With a young population, rising aspirations, and a rapidly growing economy, manufacturing offers the most sustainable path to creating large-scale employment and building a long-term economic sustainability and resilience for the country. India today stands at a very important moment in its industrial journey. For decades, the world has depended heavily on only one country, China, as the manufacturing hub of the global economy. China built an extraordinary ecosystem, world-class infrastructure, large-scale industrial clusters, integrated supply chains, and strong export orientation. For many years, the phrase factory of the world is synonymous with China. However, it is changing. Rising costs, geopolitical shifts, supply chain disruptions, and we are seeing lots of it right now as the war in the Middle East goes on. And the desire of many countries to diversify manufacturing have created a window of opportunity for India and a lot more nations. India has several natural advantages. We have a very large domestic market. We have a large pool of young and skilled workforce. We have a growing base of engineers and technicians, and an entrepreneurial culture that thrives on innovation and adaptation. Government initiatives such as Make in India campaign that has been going on, the PLIs, the production-linked incentive schemes, and the push towards infrastructure development have begun to create the environment and the momentum for the manufacturing sector. We are seeing encouraging progress in sectors such as electronics, automobiles, chemicals, petrochemicals, pharmaceuticals, and renewable energy equipment. Companies across the world are increasingly considering India as part of their global supply chain. But we must also recognize that competition is intense. Several countries have moved quickly to position themselves as an alternate to China. For example, Vietnam. Let's take the example of Vietnam. Vietnam has emerged as a strong player in electronics and consumer goods manufacturing, benefiting from the export-oriented policies and efficient logistics. You know, I was looking at the cost, we were having a discussion with a CEO who was visiting us, and the cost of shipping between India and US is upward of $90 per ton. Vietnam is $5 per ton to US, and that is the kind of logistics strength that they have over other nations. Thailand has built deep capabilities in automotive and industrial manufacturing. Malaysia, another country not far from us, has developed a strong ecosystem in electronics and semiconductor industries. Indonesia has leveraged its large population and large domestic market to attract significant investments in manufacturing. Even countries like Mexico, which are very next to the US, have become large manufacturing hubs and part of the supply chain to the US. So in other words, India is not competing in a vacuum. We are competing with countries that are agile, export-driven, and highly focused on industrial growth. To truly realize our potential, and I think that is what we should do today, what should we do and what we need to do, I think let's focus on that. First is infrastructure. Infrastructure remains critical for any industry and any manufacturing growth. Manufacturing thrives where logistics are efficient, where ports, roads, railways, highways, power systems are reliable and cost competitive. While India has made significant progress in recent years, continued investment and execution will be essential. Second, the supply chain needs to get deeper and more resilient. Manufacturing does not operate in isolation. It depends on a vast network of suppliers, ancillary industries, raw materials, and logistic partners. The stronger and more integrated this ecosystem becomes, the more competitive our manufacturing sector will be. Third, we must invest in skills. Modern manufacturing increasingly relies on automation, on digital technologies and advanced engineering. Our workforce must be continuously trained to adapt to these technologies and processes. And I'll give an example. I work for Haldia Petrochemical. We are making a very large investment in Haldia, around 6,000 crores. And we have struggled to get the skilled manpower required for the project. We are employing close to 6,000 people, but it's a struggle to get the manpower. And I think that is really the void that we have to fulfill. We have a large population, but do we have a large skilled workforce? Do we have enough welders in the country? Do we have enough crane operators? We don't only need engineers and doctors, we also need the skilled workforce, which is critical to the manufacturing sector. The fourth is really where the government has to do a lot of work, which is on the regulatory simplicity, and the speed of execution. And we have discussed this topic, I'm sure, in various forums. This has been discussed so many times. There's also an important lesson that recent global events, I'm talking about Middle East, have highlighted the fragility of supply chains. I come from a petrochemical sector. We import half our feedstock from the Gulf, and that is not happening. We have seen the crude prices going up by 60%. We have seen our feedstock, which is naphtha, going up by 74%. And we do not know where it will end. And that is a real fear for the industry. And that is the supply chain fragility I'm talking about. Over the past few years, the world has witnessed disruptions from pandemics, and we had COVID-19, geopolitical tensions, and we have seen that happening in Europe and other parts of the world. More recently, what's happening in the Middle East. They remind us how vulnerable global supply chains can be. And I'll give an example. Petrochemical sector, we think, is only producing those polymers that goes into making granules for the plastic industry. Now, if the petrochemical sector, dependent on the Middle East supplies, shut down, do you know what will happen? You will not get a milk supply tomorrow morning. But the milk pouch that comes is made using the polymers that we produce. And that is the impact of the entire supply chain. So it's not just some industrial product which is being made. It actually touches the consumer, the larger population of the country. So these developments are really, I'd say, a wake-up call for us in the industry to see how we can have a domestic industry which is resilient, which is fully end-to-end, has a supply chain integration, so that we do not suffer if an incident like this happens, which impacts the industry. Self-reliance does not mean isolation. India will remain deeply integrated with global supply chain, but strategic resilience, ensuring that critical industries and inputs are secure, will become increasingly important in a very uncertain world that we are living in. For a country of India's scale, manufacturing must play a very central role in economic development. Services alone cannot absorb the scale of employment that a young population requires. With AI we have seen coming in, I think the service industry will be greatly impacted. And the employment has to come really from the simple manufacturing that we have all grown up on, but it needs to grow much, much more than where we are. The opportunity for India is enormous. If we can combine policy support, infrastructure development, skill creation, and technological adoption, we will emerge as one of the most important manufacturing centers in the world. But this will require sustained effort from government, industry, and society. We must think long term. We must invest in capabilities. And above all, we must believe that India can not only participate, but also shape the future of global manufacturing. The journey will not be easy, but the rewards for our economy, for our people, and our future are immense. So with that, I'll wish you all the best today as we listen to other speakers and have more interactive sessions as we go along. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And one request, that is, in Bengal, we have a very strong plastic and chemical MSME base. So I would like to request you, like, if our MSMEs can have vendor development program with your organization, that would be a big help and support for our MSMEs, sir. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, sir. And if we wish, we like organize VDP inside, factories. So we can definitely organize that for your company and for the support of our MSMEs. Now I request Mr. Ordno Basu, our immediate former president, and clients and industries leaders of PwC India, and all of you know that Sir is one of the major, consultant who can really tell us about how we integrate AI for the manufacturing, mainly by MSMEs. Sir, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be speaking to all of you on the dais of Bengal Chamber, a chamber which I cherish and hold very close to my heart. So today we are having a discussion, debate on manufacturing and MSMEs and how they would probably be adopting AI and tech, is what I have been told to speak on. But let me start a bit behind in terms of, if you look at how India is growing today, before I jump straight into AI, if you look at the union budget of this year, right, one of the most significant focus in the budget this year was on attracting FDI into manufacturing and strengthening India's position as a global manufacturing giant, right? Now, obviously, the budget, through its policies, through its proposals, it aims to deepen the FDI inflows. And obviously, we all want to be, part of this China Plus One strategy. When we try to leverage that, we want to create new opportunities. We want to obviously have a far greater reliance on exports. And many of these are, in some ways, very close to all our hearts. But when you think of leveraging China Plus One strategy, I think it's not just policy level intervention which can help us become China Plus One. And I was actually discussing that a bit away, that, if you think of China Plus One, you have to be at least close to China in terms of your efficiency, your discipline, your production capability, your ability to scale. Now, hand on heart, on many of these aspects, we are way behind. And frankly, if we are way behind, then if manufacturing has to move out of China, as we have seen, they tend to move to Southeast Asia and does not come over to India all the time. Now, obviously, government will do what it can do on the policy side, but I do think that there's a fair amount of work which the strategy level inputs or strategy level interventions which India would have to do at corporate India level for you to become competitive. Because if you're not competitive, just depending on geopolitics will not get us where we want to be. And if you think of the different policies and processes which were discussed by the Honorable Finance Minister, the Union Budget of 26-27 did prioritize AI-driven growth and FDI into AI. And there were many things like, the 2047 tax holiday for the data centers, right? Now, all of those, the Semiconductor Mission 2.0, all of these are steps in the right direction. But it also has to be seen that how is AI being actually imbibed by corporate India and by the government of India. Now, when we look at this, we tend to think of only the ease of doing business. The government has done quite a bit in the ease of doing business. We were in 2014, if I remember correctly, 142nd in that EODB rankings. We have now moved to, I think, 63rd by 2020. But the point is, we are going to always be behind countries like Singapore, right? I think, at least in the next foreseeable future, I don't see us becoming that fast and that easy to work in, because we have other issues, right? We have labor law issues, we have other, issues around infrastructure, and, we might be, talking about the single window clearance and all of that, but that's not going to just be enough for us to compete. So if you look at the policy push, the gradual policy push has been, strengthening in investor confidence, and I do think that the current geopolitics, which is there, is pushing more and more investors to look at India very carefully. If you look at, our stock markets also, we haven't seen that kind of a, pull out as you might have expected, a few years back. But if you think of the FDI equity inflows into the manufacturing sector, it increased about 69%, and it was only about 98 billion in 2004 to 2014, which moved in the next 10 years to about 165 billion between 2014 and 2024. But how much of that investment has trickled down into the MSMEs? And without proper knowledge, is it possible for MSMEs in India to leverage these kind of financial schemes which are in place by the government, which could be explored for integrating AI into their operations? Now, that's where I would probably say that, India, when it's looking at what we are going to do, that's where the importance of AI becomes very, very critical, and, we look at what we are trying to do. Now, if you look at the AI journey of a typical manufacturing company, we all start with an AI strategy, right? We look at the art of the possible. We look at, what's the North Star for the organization. We look at the digital track, we look at the agentic initiatives. We keep hearing about how many agents can really take out, people. But amidst all of that, there's one critical part which India has to invest, because that does not come automatic overnight, which is what is the quality of data which we have. Now, when we look at the MSME ecosystem and even broader, larger manufacturing ecosystem, we do see that, the quality of data, specifically manufacturing data, shop floor data, operations data, is not of the quality where you can immediately put in AI use cases. So along with these exploratory data analysis, we obviously start with model building, we start with, cold trials, hot trials. We generally would, set up a value realization office. Now, along with that, what we also do is we look at an AI squad. We might have an AI delivery officer, an AI transformation officer. We would generally set up an AI COE, trainings, communication, all of those are being, done. But then, as the rubber meets the road, the core data supply chain needs to come in. We need to look at data governance. We need to look at, L1 to L4, the as-is and the to-be processes, the AI architecture which we are thinking of, the platform setup, the integration points. All of these are very, very critical parts of really making that jump. Because if we are saying that, okay, technology is going to be our way to short circuit the growth journey between where we are and where we want to be, then this is very, very critical. And what we found when we were doing our work with our clients, is that there are 7 key AI themes which become very, very critical for the manufacturing industry. The first is we have to invest in an AI twin, okay? The AI twin allows us to, look at digitally how some of these changes would impact. We would normally need an intelligence maintenance agent, because a large part of manufacturing is around equipments and their maintenance. There are themes around smart vision, which could be for quality, which could be for safety, right? If you're manufacturing fabrics, how much of quality control can be done by the human eye, and how can I, improve it substantially using smart eye or smart vision? Then, of course, you have the entire Gen AI-based content management. It could be in the area of, customer service. It could be in the area of, production floor help. It could be in terms of giving ideas to people in the shop floor. Then, of course, there's the question of demand and pricing. Many industries are going through rapid changes and a very volatile demand and pricing framework. So it could be around that. It could be around commodity sourcing. many of our supply chains are getting disrupted on a daily basis. And of course, it could be agentic AI-based solutions which could come into finance, it could come into HR, it can come into operations, customer service, all of that. And if you look at each of these, they can be blown into much larger conversations. So I would probably say that we always have a paucity of time, and I can't take you through every one of them in detail. But if I just think of maybe a simple thing like a electric arc furnace, right? And what we can do with an AI twin in an electric arc furnace, we can do things like real-time visualization, we can do descriptive analysis, we can do predictive analysis, we can do forward insights, we can do prescriptive real-time optimization to reduce the variance, we can do what-if simulation and modeling. Now, if you look at all of it, each of these would have an EBITDA improvement. And I think at some stage, India would have to look at how we become far more profitable in our manufacturing play, because then that would allow us to become far more competitive in the export market. And that would give us the major thrust which we can, think of getting into the export market and being a credible competitor to China, not today, but in the days to come. And AI will make it important and make it possible for us. So that's where I would probably urge each of you to look at in your organization, how can you use AI in a big way? How can you adopt it? And AI should not be just left to, us using Claude or ChatGPT or Google Gemini, just to have queries like a search engine. AI can give you real-time analysis of your business, which can allow you to improve your EBITDA in a major way. And that's something which I would really urge you to think of. With that, thank you once again, and it's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we also hope that if not China, we may be somewhere closer to countries like Singapore, who is ranks second in EODB. Thank you, sir, once again. Now I request Mr. Indrajit Sen. Mr. Sen is one of our former presidents, and he is the managing director of International Combustion Limited. And all of you know Mr. Sen. He has been with us, supporting us, giving us ideas, and our online directory, which is working, I believe, supporting us, our stakeholders, it was the brainchild of Mr. Sen. Sir, please. Sir, would you like to sit there? And yeah.
Am I audible? Good morning. Over the last few years, the world has learned a very, very powerful lesson. Global supply chain are the only as strong as their weakest link. A virus in one part of the world would shut down factories across many countries. A single ship blocking Suez Canal or blocking Hormuz at the moment. Am I audible? See, a simple blocking of the waterways will create the geopolitical tension that we see happening all the time would have forced us to rethink about the entire supply neighbor network, which in many such conditions almost shut down fully. For decades, global manufacturing was optimized on efficiency and cost. Honestly, today, the priorities have shifted to resilience, diversification, and trust. And in this new global equation, the key issue which is emerging is which country can the world rely on to manufacture consistently, responsibly, and at scale. India has a unique opportunity to be one of these countries. The global manufacturing landscape is undergoing a profound transformation, and for nearly 3 decades, the manufacturing became constrained in a few regions, concentrated in a few regions in the world. While this brought, certainly it brought, like we have been always talking about China, but while this has brought efficiency and lower cost, but created serious vulnerability, which is even seen today. The disruption in recent years, from pandemic to geopolitical tensions, have pushed companies to rethink the supply chain structure, and as a result, many global manufacturers are adding or adopting what is known as China Plus One, which Arnav has just mentioned. China Plus One doesn't mean China and India, it means China and Mexico. It depends on where the industry or where the market is focused. So China Plus One strategy. And this diversifies the production across multiple countries. At the same time, we are witnessing the rise of more multipolar world economic power, and it is no longer concentrated in just few regions. You see, every country and many regions themselves are becoming stronger and stronger, and this brings us to the question, whether are we looking at a multipolar world, which is also happens to be one of the top key topics of today. So more and more economic power is no longer concentrated and in a few regions, and instead the manufacturing network are becoming more distributed, with multiple countries playing important role in global supply chain. In such a multipolar manufacturing landscape, reliability, political stability, and trusted partnership becomes even more critical, and countries that can offer these qualities will increasingly shape the future of global production. This shift has created a historic opportunity for emerging manufacturing hubs, and India is increasingly at the center of this conversation. As one observation captures the shift perfectly, it says, for decades, the world optimized supply chains for efficiency, and today the world is optimizing supply chain for resilience. India's economic momentum strengthens this opportunity. India is currently among the fastest growing economy, with GDP growth of around 7 to 8%. In recent years, the manufacturing has contributed more than 17% to Indian GDP today, and national ambition is to increase it to 25% in the coming decade. How does this numbers matter to us? Because the manufacturing is just not about producing goods. It no longer is. It drives jobs, innovation, exports, and economic resilience. Companies want partners who delivers consistently, So companies want partners who delivers consistently and maintains stable policies. And one simple idea to capture this says that in an uncertain world, reliability becomes what is most valuable currency in the global manufacturing. Let me conclude with this thought. In the past, global manufacturing was actually driven primarily by cost and efficiency and advantages of that. Today, it is driven by confidence and reliability. Countries that offer stability, skilled talent, strong institutions, and trusted supply chain will shape the next era of global manufacturing. India has all the ingredients: a young workforce, a growing industrial base, a large domestic market, which again is extremely important. One of the success of China was also because of the huge domestic demand, and democratic institutions that provide long-term stability. This has been one of the challenges of China for some time now, and that is why the question is coming, why we concentrate, why in one place, why not look at China plus one? If we continue to invest in infrastructure, innovation, and skill development, India will not only just participate as a global in the global supply chain, India actually will anchor them. In a world searching for certainty amongst uncertainty, India can truly become not only just a manufacturer, but a manufacturing partner the world can trust. And with this, I end my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. Anirban Banerjee, Managing Director, Eveready Industries Limited. Mr. Banerjee, please come to the dais.
Good morning to everyone here. As someone who works in Calcutta for a manufacturing company that is deeply rooted in the city, right? It is especially meaningful to be talking about the future of manufacturing here and today. So when India celebrates your 100 years of independence in 2047, our national aspiration is to become a 30 trillion economy. If that ambition has to become reality, one sector that will disproportionately carry the weight will be manufacturing. Because nations that design, engineer, and manufacture at scale are the nations that shape the global economy. Today, manufacturing is no longer simply about producing goods in a factory. It represents innovation, technological capabilities, resilient supply chains, sustainability, and value creation. The countries that will lead global manufacturing are not the ones that will merely assemble products, but those that design, innovate, and engineer continuous development are the ones that will dominate. India stands at a very important moment in this journey. Over the last decade, global supply chain has been undergoing a significant reset. Companies across industries are diversifying their manufacturing bases, and in that realignment, India has emerged as a compelling destination because of its large domestic market, demographic advantages, some amount of policy support, and steadily improving infrastructure. Government initiatives like the PLI, right, industrial corridors, major investments in logistics and connectivity are helping accelerate this transition from a consumption-driven economy to a value-creating manufacturing hub. As a company that has been a part of India's industrial journey for over a century, we at Eveready Industries see this transformation firsthand. Say today, Eveready operates with about 5 manufacturing plants across the country. And we are currently investing in India's and probably South Asia's first and only alkaline battery manufacturing capability in Jammu. Typically, a segment that till over the last few decades has always been imported from outside. But while the opportunity is enormous, we must be candid about the structural challenges. China, and we've heard a lot of China today, right? China continues to remain the benchmark for manufacturing competitiveness. One of the most significant differences obviously lies in the structural cost efficiencies, particularly logistics. So India's logistics costs still hover around 13 to 14% of the GDP, while when you look at China, comparatively at about 8 to 9%. Freight trucks in India move at 25 to 30 kilometer per hour, usually in and across China, and not recently, but over the last decade, they move at about 60 kilometers per hour. The infrastructure advantages are historically protected Chinese manufacturers almost like an economic fortress. Let me share a small example again from the Eveready experiences. In categories like alkaline batteries, several key components still needed to be imported. When those shipments travel across ocean, clear customs, and move across the country by road, the total lead time for any shipment is close to about 5 to 6 weeks. When that capability is built domestically, the supply chain becomes dramatically shorter, less than half. That is precisely why we are looking at investing in India's only alkaline manufacturing capability somewhere in Jammu in about a month or two. The second most important shift we must make is moving from assembly, pure bringing knockdown kits and putting it together, to some amount and acceleration of innovation. In sectors such as electronics and consumer devices, India has made impressive strides in manufacturing scale, but much of the high-value components are still brought in SKD or CKD form. When innovation and component manufacturing happen elsewhere, the real value creation is not happening here. It's only assembly. And thus, if India wants to move higher up the global manufacturing value chain, encouraging deeper R&D investments, across the industry becomes a national priority. Another critical manufacturing pillar is the MSME sector. If large industry is the engine of manufacturing, MSMEs are the transition system that actually delivers the power. India cannot become a manufacturing powerhouse without its MSMEs. They form the backbone of supply chain, yet many MSMEs operate under significant working capital stress. Long payment cycles from large clients, while simultaneously being required to meet, GST obligations in time. Multiple credit schemes exist. They are often, documentation heavy and compliance incentive, which discourages smaller businesses from accessing them. So thus, if India wants MSMEs to migrate seamlessly into global supply chains, we must ensure easier credit, reduced compliances, stronger digital supply chain ecosystems, and cluster-based vendor ecosystems. Strengthening MSMEs will significantly enhance India's manufacturing competitiveness. Doing so, an equally important aspect and a dimension will be its workforce. India has a very young and capable workforce, but the next phase of manufacturing growth will require, as I said earlier, moving from technology familiarity to mastery in technology, and that's where the connection to innovation also comes in. Industry and government must work together to strengthen skill ecosystems by partnering with ITIs, upgrading curriculum, building industry labs, expanding structured on-the-job training. When the workforce becomes factory ready and technology enabled, productivity rises, competitiveness will follow through. As we grow and become ready to power up as a manufacturing hub, sustainability will also remain central as a responsibility towards modern manufacturing. At Eveready, we've installed over 2 megawatts of solar power capacities, implemented zero liquid discharges. We are developing recycling partnerships, especially on batteries, etc., to recover and reuse large portion of the manufacturing materials. So responsible manufacturing and efficient manufacturing are increasingly becoming the same thing. Finally, if India truly wants to become a global manufacturing powerhouse, we must adapt a far more stronger, aggressive export mindset. It is encouraging that India is actively signing the free trade agreements. But alongside tariff reductions, we must also address non-tariff barriers and compliance complexities in export processes, which often discourage smaller manufacturers from participating in global trade. As we all know, the current global environment is marked by geopolitical uncertainty and supply chain disruptions. And the ability to navigate such turbulence comes from operational agility. But agility can't be built overnight. It requires a resilient supply chain, stronger MSMEs, skilled talent, and a forward-looking policy support. If these elements come together, India will not only expand, it will accelerate its manufacturing base. We will build a globally competitive, innovation-driven, and sustainable manufacturing ecosystem. And when that happens, India will not just participate in global supply chains, India will help shape them. Because the future of manufacturing will belong to nations that combine scale, innovation, and agility. India has all the three. So the opportunity is in front of us. Now execution must follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. Now I request Ms. Chandrama Shaha, Director of Shaha Steel Group, and you would be I'm really happy to share that under her leadership, Shaha Steel Group has become a 125 crore company, a turnover company. So I'll request Ms. Shaha to kindly deliver your speech, and congratulations for such a success.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed dignitaries. My speech is going to be about stories, because my story is all about stories, which are building stories. So today I'll begin with the story of Anjali Mandal. Anjali is an artisan in Birbhum, and she has learned the art of embroidery across generations from her grandparents and parents. And what she's been doing for quite a few years was selling her works of art to the middlemen at peanut prices. What she then did was, she chanced upon the DIC center, she went there, met the office bearers, learnt how she could scale up, became a legal entity, a legal MSME, and started selling her works of art globally only through her smartphone. Today, she employs over 15 people in her MSME setup, and she is the CEO. The second story is of Bikram. Bikram inherited a metal forging unit. He was the 4th generation in Howrah. And when he came into the business, what he saw was there were a few debts on the company. The products he was manufacturing was outdated. They weren't cost efficient, and he wanted about a 50 lakh loan so that he could upgrade his machines and then become competitive and manufacture and sell new products. It was tough because the banks asked for multiple documents, including a DPR, a detailed project report, of which Vikram did not know anything about. Then what happened? Then he understood and learnt about the Technology Facilitation Center at a gathering like ours today, went ahead, understood that he could rent the newer machines by the hour, manufacture the components, and start supplying to a new set of customers. That's exactly what Vikram did. What we need today, like all the speakers before me have said, are more and more of these Anjalis and Bikrams. And how do we create these thousands and lakhs of them? That is the challenge in front of India today. For that, we need an ecosystem. The first thing that we need is ease and fintech and AI-driven lending systems. Take, for example, an MSME. If tomorrow you want to do a startup, you will have to apply for a CGT SME loan, if that is the way you want to fund your business. You go to the website and you should be able to upload all your documents seamlessly. If there are questions and queries, given the way technology has moved forward, then those should be asked within the hour. And you should be able to answer them and get an approval, a go or a no-go, from the lending institutions within the day. How do we make that happen? If tomorrow you want to set up a different kind of industry, there are so many newer technologies which are available. You want to do that. How do you go about it? Do we have an ecosystem today of consultants, of knowledge holders, who are there at your disposal. If you just reach out to them, they will consult you on setting up the right kind of factory with the right kind of machines at the right capacities. That is an ecosystem our state and our country needs to build today. If tomorrow I want to build a data center, how do I go about it? Where do I start? How can I reach out to the right consultants who will help me do it? This kind of an ecosystem is required today. The third is infrastructure, like some of the speakers before me have spoken about. We at Saha Steel Group try and empower the infrastructure which is required by MSMEs across India. If tomorrow you want a factory up, we can get it done for you in a matter of weeks. How do we do that? How can we scale this up for all the states and all the MSMEs across? That is the challenge we have today. Coming to steel, we know that massive expansions are happening in Orissa and surrounding states in steel. And by 2030, millions of tons per annum of steel production is going to hit the market. Bengal is extremely well poised in a position to become the value addition hub as well as the fabrication hub for all of these steel and the specialized metal alloys that will come out. How do we become that? How do we become unique and big in this sector? Our state and our nation should look at empowering us to become the next big fabrication hub. Talking about sustainability, green steel is something which is coming up soon. How can we make net zero buildings? How can we manufacture more green steel? And how can we make value-added products with green steel? That is the kind of innovation that we should talk about, discuss, and bring speed to everything that we want to execute. With that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Saha, and we are really happy that Saha Steel has been a part of our MSME ecosystem, Bengal Chambers ecosystem, and you know, they have been leveraging the platforms that we try to create for our stakeholders, and like we are really happy to showcase their success. Thank you, thank you. Now I request Mr. Jayanto De, who is the proprietor of Precision Transmission Chain, another success story, and all of you know that HAL, like when we go to HAL for vendor development projects or vendor development thing, they always say that we don't have this, don't have that. The easiest, you know, place where we are discarded first. In that ecosystem, Mr. Jayanto De and his company got the Excellence Award, the best quality vendor in HAL this year, right, sir? I mean last year, 2025, this year, okay. So we have Mr. De here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Friends, today I am here to share with you my learnings and experience about doing business in the defense aerospace sector. We started as a cottage scale unit in 1972. We were manufacturing industrial conveyor chains and various type of machinery spares and supplying to renowned companies in and around Calcutta like GKW, Union Carbide, Indian Oxygen, Metal Box, Reckitt Coleman, Dunlop India, etc. Due to closure of many of these companies, we shifted to the defense sector and started supplying to various ordnance factories. We manufactured rifle components, ammunition components, and plant and machinery spares. We were supplying to ordnance factories located in Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, etc. The manufacturing experience of critical parts for arms and ammunition proved to be extremely useful and gave us enough confidence to approach the approached HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics, to enter the aerospace sector. Here I would like to mention that the initial experience was a bit scary and frightening because the aircraft components are far more complicated than arms and ammunition parts. The type of engineering required to satisfy the manufacturing processes are more stringent than general engineering items. Another major factor is the low batch quantity of critical aerospace components. Apart from the low batch quantity factor, most of the items have critical tolerances in micron level. The GD&T, geometrical dimensioning and tolerancing, and the surface roughness criteria are some of the very important areas where the manufacturers must be extremely cautious and experienced. Even a minor snag of few microns may lead to rejection of a part. All aerospace materials are mostly procured from foreign countries and are of very high value. Rejection is a direct loss of country's foreign exchange. The next most important requirement is to have a transparent and effective traceability documentation system. This is required for real-time traceability of the items being produced in the shop. These documents are required to be preserved for 12 years for future investigation purpose whenever called for. Surprise quality audit of firm's QMS is another exercise undertaken by QC team of aerospace customers. Once a team of 3 QC officers arrived from HAL Lucknow to our Bandel works, Bandel in Hooghly, without giving any prior intimation and inquiring about how to reach our remote place in Bandel. They informed that surprise QC audit is mandatory to verify how effectively and religiously we are implementing the QMS in our facility while manufacturing aerospace components. They straightaway went to the shop floor, picked up the aerospace items being run on the machines. They verified and reconciled the traceability records from raw material stage till the current stage as per the approved process sheets. Our aerospace documentation system has been in practice since last 10 years and has been audited several times by our customers' QC teams. As a recognition of our well-established system, we have received the prestigious ASQMS certification from HAL, which authorizes us to self-certify the items produced by us. To achieve and maintain the requirements of the QMS, you will have to put into practice a very robust system across your facility. AS9100D is the only internationally recognized global standard which will enable you to meet all the requirements. But it needs meticulous training and practice for a very long period. AS9100D is also essential certification for eligibility to work in aerospace sector. Here I will tell you one small incident or whatever story. I once got the opportunity to hear to one retired CMD of HAL, and in his speech he mentioned that they were planning to develop a particular set of highly critical gear for one of their fighter aircraft. Discussions were held with renowned gear manufacturers of our country who manufacture and export automobile gears. After explaining them about the technical requirements, everybody told that they have the expertise to develop the item. But when they came to know that the annual requirement will be for 70 set of gears, and the initial investment to develop the items was estimated to around 6 crores, none of them turned up to show any further interest. The moral of the story is that one should have immense passion and patience to work in aerospace sector. At times it may seem that it is not financially very rewarding, but once you are able to master the required standards and prove your competence, then definitely it is one of the most rewarding and sustainable venture. Thank you everybody for kind wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Day, and we really appreciate, as I know, the kind of passion and perseverance you have. Congratulations, sir, once again.
Now I request Commodore A. Bhattacharya, who is the officer in charge of Quality Assurance Establishment of Naval Force in Kolkata. Again, a very tough place where certifications are done. Sir, please.
Good morning, Namaskar. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, thank you to the Bengal Chamber of Commerce for according me this opportunity to address this august gathering of some of the sharpest business and technological minds in this region. Today I stand before you not just as a representative of the Department of Defense Production, Ministry of Defense, but as a fellow Indian who believes that the real strength of Atmanirbhar Bharat lies in your hands, that is in the hands of Bengal's micro, small and medium enterprises. I distinctly remember that exactly 6 years ago to this day, you can check it up on your Google, it was Holi. I was in Delhi celebrating with my family and friends, completely oblivious of the fact that half a decade later we'll be in this situation. A fortnight later, the lockdown was implemented. The pandemic ravaged the world. Since then, we've had Galwan, Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Myanmar, Iran, Venezuela, Iran again. Of course, the world is not in a very safe space right now, but today I'm not here to spread fear amongst this gathering. I am an eternal optimist, and I believe that we will come out much stronger from these situations. For that to happen, we really need, amongst all the other things that the distinguished speakers before me have mentioned, infrastructure, artificial intelligence, manufacturing, from the security perspective, security of all kinds, economic security, national security, that is the defense, geopolitical security, we need to be self-dependent, that is Atmanirbhar. 100 years ago, industries from this region supplied to the world, and opportunities beckon you again to be part of something historic. The government has rolled out a large number of policy initiatives and funding mechanisms to promote indigenous manufacturing, which I am certain you would already be aware of. I will briefly talk to you about the opportunities, vendor development initiatives, and the policy commitments of the Ministry of Defense to enhance participation of MSMEs and startups to fulfill the country's defense requirements. Ladies and gentlemen, on January 1st last year, the Ministry of Defense rolled out the Year of Reforms to modernize the armed forces with advanced technology, joint operations, simplified acquisitions, and enhanced defense exports. We have a new defense procurement manual, which is more indigenization friendly, and a new defense acquisition procedure, which is right now in the drafting stage. Comments have been sought, I think last week, comments have been sought on the MOD portal. This defense acquisition procedure will be much more innovation friendly. So the defense procurement manual looks after revenue and procurement, and the DAP looks after your capital procurements. Till March 25, a total of 788 industrial licenses were issued to 462 companies operating in the defense sector. Annual defense production reached a record of 1,50,000 crore in FY25, up 90% from FY20. So please try and understand the scale at which defense production in India is growing, and most of it is indigenous. Private sector players contributed upwards of 15,000 crores, out of which DPSUs was a little more than 8,000 crores. Looking ahead, the government has set an ambitious target of achieving defense manufacturing to the tune of 3 lakh crore by FY29. Today we are at 153 lakh crore, 100% increase within the next 3 years. Funding for India's military tech startups has risen 61 times from 27 crore in 2016 to 1600 crore in 2025, with total investments reaching 5,200 crores across 211 rounds of funding since 2016. On the exports front, the Department of Defense Production granted 1,762 authorizations in FY25, up 16.9% since FY24, while the number of registered exporters grew by 17% year on year from 24. Given the state of the world, in the Union budget this year, the Ministry of Defense has been allocated a whopping 7.84 lakh crore. That is the defense budget for this year, which is a 15% increase over the last year. The capital outlay is another 22% increase over the last year. The innovation ecosystem is also playing a crucial role in defense modernization. As of Feb 25, 549 problem statements have been identified involving 619 startups and MSMEs, with 430 contracts signed under the IDEX program. IDEX program, it's a challenge thrown to the industry, to the startups and the small scale industries. The problem statements are given, is out in the public domain, and anybody, any firm, any startup which can rise up to the challenge is funded depending upon the scope of the problem. The Defense Minister launched the Aditi scheme to promote innovations in critical and strategic defense technologies. Again, a similar problem statement is given under which startups and MSMEs are involved to solve the problems that the three forces are facing. The Srijan portal was launched to promote indigenization. More than 38,000 items are available for public view. So Srijan portal is something which all DPSUs publish it on their websites, and now on the portal, MSMEs need to register themselves on this portal. So there are 38,000 items. So it can be something like a small copper plate, steel plate, of course, something very specialized specification, a pipe, a valve, an electronic component. It can be anything. You can just log into the Srijan portal and see, depending on your area of expertise, if you think you have the capability, the capacity, you can reach out to us and we will handhold you, we will facilitate you how to go about it. The Indian Navy is on an unprecedented shipbuilding program, with Garden Reach shipbuilders here in Kolkata having an order book of 50,000 crore. We have Mazagon Docks Limited, Cochin Shipyard, Goa Shipyard, Hindustan Shipyard, and the private shipyards like L&T. The total order book for Indian Navy would be close to 1.55 or 1.6 lakh crore. Now please understand that shipbuilding, the shipbuilders are just integrators of extremely complex systems. They need MSMEs, they need companies, firms like you to help them manufacture these items. So something like a airtight or gas tight doors and hatches, a HVAC, a ventilation trunking, a porthole, a normal pipe, electrical cables, a junction box, electrical junction box, a exhaust fan of a certain specification. All these are things which a MSME can manufacture, which are MSME with the capacity and the capability can start supplying, can become a part of this ecosystem. The Navy launched its latest Swavalamban document highlighting the long list of systems and items required to be indigenized. So this is something which you will again find in the public domain. I will share it with BCCI, the document. Anything which you feel that you will be able to manufacture or contribute, you can reach out to me, to us, and we will guide you how we can connect you to the order placement authorities or to the professional directorates at our respective headquarters who will guide you. All that I have said till now is available in the public domain. I just want to highlight the fact that the requirements of the Navy and our sister services are phenomenal. Capital exists for the same and the government is willing to procure. There's a churn happening across the country, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here today to implore you to be brave and take the plunge. Become a part of the defense manufacturing ecosystem. If you have the capacity and capability to build what we need, field units of the Directorate General of Quality Assurance, That is, so I am a part of the DGQA. I'm a field unit. So I head the naval unit at Kolkata. We will help you learn the ropes for registering yourselves and connect you to the concerned order placement authorities. I must really commend Bengal Chamber. They are doing a fantastic job of onboarding MSMEs with the requisite capacity who will meet the requirements of the armed forces. They are, like Ms. Mukherjee said, they have already carried out some mapping. If not for anything else, please give it a try for the commercial opportunities on offer. Trust me when I tell you that the country needs you today. And it is really time for the Royal Bengal Tiger to pounce on this opportunity. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. We will very soon commence this hand-holding for Srijan portal for our MSME stakeholders. Now I request another major, procurement procurement place, which is our Kakinada factory. Now I request Colonel Jaswinder Singh Vora, who is the Commandant of Engineering Shores Depot at Kakinada. Colonel Vora, please.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and the elite panelists who are there on the stage with me. It is indeed an honor for me to be here amongst you all and be part of this 16th MSME Manufacturing Conclave. The theme that has been selected, it came to my mind that are we unique as a nation that we are thinking about supply chains? Are we the only ones affected by this global geopolitical quagmire that we are in presently? We all are hearing now these days about Operation Epic Fury, what the Americans and the Israelis are doing into Iran, what's happening in the Middle East. But that's the norm. That's what's been happening for quite some time in the world that we are in. It's not yet multipolar. It's still unipolar. We desire it to be multipolar. Until the time we achieve it, even in a multipolar world scenario, I doubt things will be as we desire it to be. If that be so, I had made a few slides. I just cover one or two to see what we have. I don't know if you can see and just skip all this. All right. So this is something what the US did. US is a superpower. They handed out an agency called RAND to do an analysis about the same situation, managing systemic supply chain risk to the US economy from trade concentration and geopolitical conflict. And this is as late as 18th of February. The superpower that we hear about also is concerned about the same issue. Why should we not be? We have a lot to do, a lot to go, and a road that is still yet to be mapped. Okay, so what does this study said? So it said for the global superpower that trade through supply chains worldwide will fuel national economy. It's very important, national economy. To achieve that, they will use whatever means, be it necessary, military, diplomatic, or whatever. And managing the systemic supply chain risk through trade concentration and geopolitical conflict. And then we come to the purpose that to improve the understanding how that can be done when the private and the public sector work together. This is exactly, in a nutshell, what most of the speakers have been trying to convey prior to me. In a policy overall umbrella, with a government and the public and the private hand-holding activity being undertaken, we want those so many Anjalis and Bikram that was spoken about earlier to be there, to get the nation that kind of strategic autonomy that we seek, which is still some distance away from us. It is, we are now, even today, We are in a stage of reacting to the international events. We do not have that kind of a strategic autonomy as yet. So we need to just take a recognizing our issue, especially at home here in West Bengal. For, I think my immediate previous speaker did bring out that this is the place where we were exporting to 100+ countries some years back, or some decades back. West Bengal was the most industrialized state for the first 4 decades of independence. It still is number 2 in the nation in numbers of MSMEs, in numbers of MSMEs being registered. It is there. But how much does it contribute to the defense sector? Now I'll come to the defense sector. It's only not more than 5%. And that shift needs to happen. Commander Bhattacharya brought out, there is capital outlay, there is a need, there is a will. Through the naval design bureaus and the army design bureaus, there are various mechanisms of doing hand-holding being done for the MSME sector in particular, to bring them up and to come and up to that challenge that is there staring in our eyes. So what are certain actions that even the West Bengal MSME sector has seen? I'm sure you would have, various schemes have been launched over a period of time. It is primarily with an aim to unlock the potential of India's MSME sector, get the growth engine going and the economy, and give the nation that strategic autonomy that we are seeking. And then we come to what the PLI has done from three particular sectors to 14 now, over 6 years. It initially started with the electronics model, which was successful, and then it graduated to other sectors, to semiconductors, to steel, and all these sectors. We are finding that with 1.75 lakh crores worth of investment over last 6 years, the dividends that it's paying is manifold. But is that enough? Are we achieving what we had set out for? I personally feel there's a gap to bridge. So from an import reliant to an export contender in the defense sector, even today, we are import heavy. 50% plus we were importing. We are working very, very aggressively to get it Atmanirbhar, get our own models in place. But there are stumbling blocks en route. We had an aeronautical expert with us. Tejas is an example. HAL had its own challenges. We compete with JF-17s of Pakistan, which has certain advantages thanks to the Chinese intervention. But as a nation which is trying to lead the global south, we need more. We need much, much more. So how does that happen? We need technology, definitely. We need R&D with innovation, and we need the MSME capacity and expansions and the policy overall umbrella. So this is the latest news 2 days back. 2 days back, the Solar Defense announced 12,000 crores investment in Nagpur for a drone manufacturing capacity, which could be scaled up from 10,000 units upwards. So this is a large-scale investment that's happening. There's a policy umbrella available. But how does it help the MSMEs to come under its umbrella? There are various components that will come into play. The designing is a separate field altogether, which will require a dedicated field. Can somebody get into this particular area? With the PLI being available, with the drones infrastructure that people are investing, it's a huge market in terms of scales that we are looking at. So in the present warfare and in the defense sector, there is technology, scale and scalability, speed of adaptation, and complete spectrum. That is to say that multi-domain operations are very important. But we need to prepare for the next war and not for the last war. So what happens is we keep seeing there is a gun that is there, some country has made. We try and redevelop and make it our own. We see the drone warfare coming up, Azerbaijan, that was the first time, the Ukraine-Russian war. used quite effectively, and now again they are being used. We are still now saying that we will copy the various drones that are there. But that should not, we as Indians should take that. We need to do a little more on get into more into R&D and innovate. Absorb better technology. We are the leaders in software designing, we are the leaders in software engineering, and somehow the source code, we are still dependent on the source codes of the equipment that we get or import from, and the Rafale is one example. And that is the case with even the Apache Heptors that we got. So there is more that needs to be done in terms of R&D and innovation that we are looking at. And that is where what Commander Bhattacharya brought out, wherein the ADBs and the Naval Design Bureau have very regular challenges being thrown into the open domain for the industry to pick up, to innovate, to bring out a solution which is not there in the world yet. Copying is easy. We can do the Chinese way, that is to bridge the time gap. But I think we need to do a little more and think and have self-confidence to that effect. We as Indians are blessed, I'll say, in terms of that aspect of innovating and developing our own. But we need to focus and work towards that. So what is the golden rule to work in the defense sector? As an industry who is into manufacturing, this is all that is required. 3 points. We just need quality, timelines. Quality is very important because when everything fails, the defense sector equipment cannot fail. When I say when everything fails, either there is a natural calamity or it's a human design calamity. Everything will fail, from electricity, power supply, water supply, buildings, roads, infrastructure, they will fail. But the equipment that is provided to the defense sector should never fail in that scenario. And that can only happen when we give immense importance to the quality that we need to adhere to and achieve that, truly. And for that, we'll all have to work and put in that effort, extra effort to achieve that. And the timelines. Something which is required as on yesterday, if it is delivered tomorrow, it's of no use. The world has moved on. So that catching up will remain there, the gap will remain there. I will skip this part and I'll skip this part. Okay. So there are challenges in the defense sector. People find that there is too huge a sector, there are huge numbers to catch up. My only recommendation to all of you would be, see your expertise, see your field of work, see your expertise, and then see what is matching there in the defense sector or the field. If I am in textile and I have a manufacturing unit, what in defense sector I can contribute in terms of textile? If I am in the steel industry or foundry, or I am in castings, what in the defense sector can or does require this kind of my expertise? What I can upgrade to meet that requirement? If I am into semiconductors, if I am into any electronic models or washers, anything, scale up from there. And once you scale up, please, at the cost of being repetitive, be there in terms of quality and timeline. They're very important. There are slippages on these two aspects which lead to not only failures, it brings us back to that point that the X-import item is better and reduces the faith on the make in India products, which is very, very disheartening, especially in the armed forces. So that is something which is very, very important, close to heart, and it should remain to the manufacturer as much as it should be for the person who will be using that particular machine, equipment, aircraft, submarine, ship, whatever it be. So for that, again, coming to that, that was a very nice quote of you, of Anjali and Bikram. You have to be on GEM. It's a government e-market. I found in my previous interaction, most of the manufacturers are not there. And it's not a big deal. It's a very simple process. There is a GEM office here in Calcutta. You can just approach them, get yourself registered. There are multiple YouTube videos. See that you should be able to be there. You can participate in all revenue or capital-based procurement depending on the processes, whether it is DPM or it is the acquisition council, whatever the policies are there. But GEM is important. ADBs and naval design bureaus are there to help you with the hand-holding. You need to exploit your own field of expertise and take it a notch higher. And I'll do a little bit of R&D and innovate and provide the best product that it can be. With that, that is all that I had to speak about today. And it's always great and always a learning to be here amongst all the elite people of the industry and get an understanding firsthand on how things are moving. And I'm sure with every one of our efforts, we individually, as a collective, as a nation, we will be there. We are there, but we need to be a little more focused and put in more effort to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Bohra. And with this, we have reached to the concluding part of the session, and I request all our distinguished panelists and speakers to kindly come in front, come before for we have a small memento for you, and our chairperson, Mr. Ghosh, will hand over the memento. Please come in front. And I request my colleagues to bring the mementos. These mementos are again made from forest residuals. So I will request our chairperson of the committee to kindly hand over the mementos. First, from my left, and these mementos are made by our artisans. These are made from it looks like wooden mementos, but they are not actually wooden mementos. They are made from forest residuals. We thank each of our distinguished speakers and panelists for their precious time, and thank you for being with us. We'll take 5 minutes of time for the next session, and we request our MSMEs, those who are selected for Reserve Bank of India focus group discussion, kindly go to the other room for the discussion, please. Thank you, and I request MSMEs who are selected for the focus group discussion with Reserve Bank of India to get to the to kindly go to the other hall. And I request my colleagues to kindly show them the hall, and we request our distinguished speakers for their time. Thank you.